Hi, my name is Ruby Allen. I'm a visual artist here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and I have been the artist in residence here at the Fredericton Region Museum for the past 2 weeks. When the call for artists came out and the theme was COVID-19, I tried to think how I would connect my art to COVID-19. So I began thinking about my mother's stories about her mom who had passed during the Spanish flu when my mom was only 2. So then the light bulb came on and I thought, why not do the similarities between Spanish flu and COVID-19? So here I am. They accepted my proposal, and my first stop in my journey before I came here was to go to the provincial archives and do a little research. So here I've taken some clippings with some facts and highlighted a few things from that era. For instance, here we have a letter from the health minister advising, I won't read it all, but this was dated October, and they are advising to close the schools, the theaters, all public meetings, and so on. And we know that the Spanish flu had originated during the World War I. And then the soldiers came home in November. So that's how it all sort of migrated to Canada and all over the world, actually. So here's something that says, your sneeze and cough is dangerous, so cover your face. So all these things are tidbits and facts that we should actually think about and do the same in this time, 2020. The public library was closed. The first cases here in Fredericton, and I wanted to focus on New Brunswick more than any other place. The first case occurred here it was a military person who died at the hospital on Woodstock Road. So now to take all these facts and to put it into art. So I just wanted to sort of take the important ones. I'm only here for 2 weeks, so my first drawing, or my first was, I thought I'd do the actual virus. And here we have the 1918 Spanish flu and our too familiar COVID. The symptoms that I read about that were obviously the same. There was high fever and chills, and it affected their lungs. And as you know, same as COVID-19. And as I said, in World War I, there was more deaths with the Spanish flu than there were casualties of war. And so my first drawing, which I do all the 1918 ones in sepia tone, are depicting the soldiers arriving here in Atlantic Canada. What I do is I just take bits and pieces of photographs and sort of put them together. I have a vision, and I go looking. Obviously, I couldn't be there to take their photo. So this is how my completed, it begins with gray tones, and then I add sepia. And I do it all in colored pencil. So as we know, travel was the main cause of the spread. And here in color, we have the COVID-19 era, where we know that the cruise ships and travelers on airplanes spread it really rapidly. And of course, during the Spanish War, or Spanish flu, and today, during our time of quarantine and self-isolation, there was depression, there was loneliness. If you think back, you know, we were only allowed our 2 people bubble, and if someone knocked on the door, it was like, oh my God, who's coming to the door? So anyway, I looked back at some photos, and I love this girl standing in her doorway in that era, and as you can see, she definitely is reflecting and shows very loneliness and being alone in her self-isolation or quarantine time. And today, even with all the technology and people were lonely in 2020, and I know there has to be a lot of depression. So here we have sort of a girl who is depicting the same feeling of loneliness and boredom in 2020. So as I was, then my next thing to depict, I noticed, they in 1918 they said cover your face. So I thought that was very important to an important fact to bring out. So I love these two girls I found, and as you can see, their masks weren't as colorful as we have today, but I sort of placed them in front of the Fredericton Region Museum. And so that depicts the mask wearing and the covers. And of course today we have the same, and I sort of put myself and Maria in front of the Fredericton Region Museum with our mask, and as you can see, there's lots of color and very imaginative mask these days. And I was asked to do a time lapse, so I decided to depict a couple who, in collaboration with Maria, she has done a piece on the war bride, Maud Carson. I found this picture of their wedding day, and I'm sure, as Maria has told you, her and her husband both had the Spanish flu, and only her child survived. So this was my time lapse, and what I started from scratch, and my 4-hour drawing was put on my Facebook in a minute. So it shows from start to finish. And my last piece I'm doing, we were donating a piece to the museum here. So I'm working on that now. And I'm trying to depict the Fredericton Region Museum as it was back then, the World War I soldiers. So I'm just sort of putting it all together now. It's not finished, but this is a start, and this will be donated to the museum. So just some other facts about the Spanish flu I was reading. There were, in New Brunswick, 1,394 deaths, and as we know today, in 2020, there were 2 in New Brunswick. So that was a fact that I was surprised at. And I guess looking back at my journey here, I've learned a lot. I can't believe all the similarities. I'm so happy I did this project, and I hope that it will help people realize that, this is a pandemic, and we can't let our guard down. And like the Spanish flu, I mean, they never did find a cure, but it took until December of 1920 for it to sort of disappear. But after 500 million deaths, I mean, I think Canada, there was 50,000 deaths just in Canada. The other was in the world, right? There's about 4,000 in the Atlantic provinces, but New Brunswick has 1,394. And I just looked it up, and as of today in Canada, there's 8,000. Anyway, I just want to thank everyone, and I want to thank the Fredericton Museum and all their sponsors. It's been a great journey, and thank you for listening.